So today we're going to talk about thumb releases and how to shoot one properly. There's a few ways to shoot them properly, but I believe this is the best way. It works for me. It may not work for everybody. As soon as you draw your bow and as soon as you anchor, as soon as your pin is on target, I mean literally the exact second your pin is where it needs to be or where you think it needs to be, you just want to punch the mess out of that trigger as hard as you can and as fast as you can. And the bigger jump you put like into your body, the better. It actually produces better arrow flight.
The big question is, does that reduce recoil?
When you like put your body into it,
yeah,
like as you
does
fire,
it increase or decrease recoil?
It definitely decreases recoil, but it increases recoil on impact. So you're gonna F that deer up. It all starts in the legs, from the feet. That's where you get your power.
So with that said, do we also want to turn our hips while trying to shoot to provide more power to the bow?
If you got a tree in the way, yeah, for sure. You can kind of you got a tree in the way, you could, get around that tree. I mean, that takes a lot of practice. I've been doing it for about 10 years, so I mean, it took me about 8 years to get that technique down. So I mean, we can show that in another video though. All right, so for real guys, all jokes aside, I really did want to talk about the best way to shoot a thumb release. There are multiple ways to shoot a thumb release. I guess there's not a correct way. This is what I found is the best way that worked for me, and it also helped with my target panic. If you shoot a bow, you've dealt with target panic or you're going to at some point. If you are watching this video, you probably are dealing with target panic right now, or you're going to. And so it's going to be good to take some of these tips away to kind of help with the target panic. When I first started archery, I used a wrist strap. I shot it really well, and I switched to a thumb release, and I shot it really well, but I shot both of them command style. What I mean by command style, you're telling the release when to fire. You're on target and you're pushing the button, punching it to get it to go. And it's really hard to get really good at that. Now, there are some exceptions like Tim Gillingham and a lot of other professional archers that are really, 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 really good at punching triggers and shooting a command style, but they've perfected it over practice, and they got something mental going on that a lot of people don't. Because here's what happened to me. At first, for the first couple years, I shot command very well. I was able to shoot really high scores at tournaments, but after about 2 or 3 years, I developed an extreme case of target panic where I just got all over the place. I was missing the target. I was anticipating the shot way too much. My brain just kind of had a meltdown when it was time to execute and shoot when my pin was on target. Essentially, you're anticipating the shot. It's going to cause a lot of motions and stuff that your body's not supposed to do, which was causing me to hit all over the place, or I would be way off target and I would drive by and shoot. Mentally for me, it just wasn't the right way, the right approach for archery or bow hunting or how to shoot a bow and arrow. So I really want to talk about this concept of loose hands, strong back, and I heard this from an archery coach, and it has helped me tremendously in remembering what I need to do to shoot a thumb release properly and how to execute my shot. Your entire hand, your wrist, thumb is completely relaxed. Like, I mean, you're dead relaxed, as relaxed as you can get it, and your back is going to be strong, and that's where all the pressure is going to be when you release your shot, when your shot fires. I'm just going to pull through and it's going to fire. We'll do it again. What you're actually doing when you want this trigger to fire is you're getting it to fire through pressure of pulling, not through pressure of pushing the trigger. So I'm going to relax my thumb on the trigger and I'm going to pull. And that's what's causing it to go off. It's pressure. It's not punching or pressing the trigger. That has helped me tremendously in taking over my target panic, curing my target panic, but it also took a lot of practice. So I did a lot of blind bails, a lot of up close, 5 yards on the target, not really aiming, just working on executing the shot of a surprise release. That's what we're trying to do here. We want that surprise. We don't want to know when the shot's going to be fired, because when you do, like it did for me, it's what causes a lot of problems mentally, and you do things you shouldn't do. So you don't really want to wrap your thumb around the release like this. You don't really want to do that. You kind of want to find a sweet spot, but that's where I put mine at, kind of just right there on the bottom part of the first little indentation of your thumb, right there. You want to make sure your hands are placed in the release correctly too. You don't want to have it buried up in here like that. You kind of want to put it in the sweet spot right here in the middle of your fingers. And that's going to allow your hands to relax the correct way so you can pull through properly. Eventually that shot's going to break, and it's going to take some time to get used to, because you're just going to have to let that pin float, but you got to trust the float. That's another thing, trust the float. The float's very important. Like I said, blind belt, a lot of practice, close range, before you actually try this at a long distance. I'd say for a couple weeks, maybe to a month, is what I did before I even shot at 20 or 30 yards, because I had to retrain my brain. It's going to be a big adjustment, and you probably won't be as accurate at first, but trust me, just stick with it. You're going to get better. Another thing I would recommend is getting a hinge release. I do practice with a hinge release a lot, and essentially you're shooting a thumb release the same way, or I am, relaxing your hands and letting your back do all the work to get it to fire and pulling through that shot, keeping the pressure on the back wall. Having a high let-off bow can cause issues when you're shooting a surprise shot, and the reason be is when you have a high let-off bow, you tend to relax too much at full draw. And I struggle with this when I shoot a high let-off bow, and your form and your technique begins to kind of collapse. You relax too much, everything kind of comes in. I'd say like 80 to 75% is ideal. It's going to take some getting used to if you're used to a high let-off bow, but trust me, low let-off is where it's at. Your shot's something you should work on year-round. For example, I haven't shot my bow in 2 months, and I went to a tournament yesterday, and 5 out of the 20 shots that I took were command. I punched it, I rushed it, had anxiety, punched the mess out of the trigger. They were still pretty good shots, but they're not as good as they could have been, and it didn't feel good. It wasn't smooth, it was all choppy. So working on your shot year-round is super important, especially if you're changing from a command style to a surprise shot. Getting ready for deer season and making an ethical shot on a deer is super important. I'm just kind of giving you guys some examples from one bow hunter to the other of how to be a little more accurate. If you want to cure your target panic, this is what helped me. I'm not a professional archer, I'm not a coach, but this has helped me tremendously, and I got a lot of my stuff from a lot of professional archers. Got a lot of tips from a lot of professional archers who are way better than me. So this is kind of just stuff that I've picked up over the years of archery, of what helped me from a bunch of other people, and just kind of trying to pass that along to some people that may be watching our channel. I would recommend trying this if you're struggling with target panic and punching the trigger. But hey, if punching the trigger is working for you, keep doing it, perfect it. You know, it works for some people, just not for me. Drop a comment, let me know if you got any questions about your struggles in shooting, or maybe shooting at deer. Make sure you like and subscribe.
So those shots are pretty tight. Yeah, I kind of do a mixture. One of the shots I was really surprised, and then the other ones I was like, maybe it's going off. I'm not really sure. Tyler, what was that? What was that fancy new way you were telling them folks about?
Hammer shooting? Hammer down?
Yeah.
Fancy way? You mean the right way?
Yeah. My name's Clay, and I've been a student of Tyler's hammer down method for about 2 years now, and I haven't perfected it in the same way that he has. He's still got to coach me, and we're just gonna kind of show you what that looks like on a shot-to-shot basis.
All right, so first step, obviously, you draw the bow.
Yeah.
And when you get your sights ready to roll right where you want it, you know, from the legs up through your thumb peg, you just hammer down.
Okay. All right.
Hammer
all
down method. Let's say
Yeah,
1,
yeah.
2, 3, hammer down.
Right. Hammer down.
Oh man.